Hello, welcome to the third instalment of the MHA Specialist Healthcare Retirement videos. I'm Dave Walker, Senior Tax Manager from the Accounts and Tax team, and this is Robin Horton, who's Senior Financial Planner with the Specialist Healthcare Services team. We're looking at those clinicians that are getting closer towards when they want to be taking retirement action, planning for those last few years, and what they might need to be looking at. For some members of the NHS schemes, primarily GPs I'm thinking of, there are some hugely valuable protections that are in place, enhanced protection being the main one, but other ones like individual protection 2014 and 16 as well. Making sure that those are retained where necessary, even though we have got at the moment the abolition of the lifetime allowance. We've got to be very cautious about people that have opted out previously, opting back in.
And what a lot of doctors may well be thinking about is, of course, how can I retire in the fashion that I would really like to, whether that's a reduction of hours before a full stop, or whether or not it's an abrupt stop at a certain point. And I think there's a number of things to consider here in the later part of the career where your earnings are potentially the highest they will have ever been, and of course therefore then potentially more surplus income, assuming children are of course in private education, which of course saps a lot of people's surplus income. But naturally what people are looking for is, when can I retire on? Now, in order to be able to do that, first of all, what we need to look at is, again, going back to the housekeeping, is your record up to date? And therefore then what we can do between David and I is look at the numbers to determine what are your options with the pension flexibilities, and particularly more so now that the NHS scheme rules are looking to broaden considerably. And then ultimately look at projecting that forward with the use of cash flow to understand the relationships between pre and post retirement income overlaid with your pre and post annual expenditure. And of course that will naturally change, certainly in the first few years, as people have this kind of blowout period where they enjoy the holidays they never really had the time to do whilst they were in working career. And naturally those will evolve over the years. Most people will tell me, their long haul holidays will start to reduce as they no longer want to sit on long haul flights. They may well drop down to one car, and beyond a certain age, it's more about and enjoying the easy and simple life in retirement rather than looking for the fast life. Naturally, people may want to look at staircasing down their income. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the pension flexibility rules that are looking under consultation at the moment is to really design to try and encourage people to stay for longer, or maybe even return to work having previously retired. And those are interesting aspects of financial planning as to, one, whether or not they need to do so, or secondly, whether or not they still feel that they've got gas in the tank and able to offer some value to the public service for the NHS and still earn good money at the same time. The viewpoints of financial planning also evolve as we get closer to that stage, whereas we will naturally find our debt is either paid off or very minimal at that stage of our lives. And ultimately what we may well see is increased exposure to other types of taxes, such as the inheritance tax. Those are all really quite key points to bear in mind and ensure, because of the methodology that HMRC expect payment of that by the personal representatives of the estate before they release assets to the beneficiaries of your family.
From my experience just this year alone, we're now talking at the end of March 2023, I've probably checked so far this year probably 10 award letters, and whether that's GPs or consultants, not a single one of them has been correct. Either the benefit amount has been calculated incorrectly, the service is wrong, there is missing income, particularly if we're dealing with GPs from PCSE not actioning certificates before, incorrect lifetime allowance charges have been applied, the correct protections haven't been put in place. It's never quite the same thing twice, but not one of them has been right. And every one was underpaid and not overpaid. Make sure you let us as the specialists have a copy, because it might look an attractive number to you, but if we can get it up a few £1,000s, it's worth it.